I'm Daniel.
I'm Jay-Z.
And this is Just My DIY.
We've already given you the ultimate guide to sublimating on acrylic, and this week we take it a step further with the laser.
We're going to take what we learned and apply it to engraving on acrylics with sublimation.
That's right. We had a lot of questions. Do you engrave first or sublimate first? Do you engrave on the front or the back? We answered those questions and more in today's video.
So let's forge on. Now here's the cutting and engraving settings for the Glowforge. We are using cast acrylic, that is important. Don't use the other one. Now we're going to go ahead and find a circle, and we're going to import it and copy it twice. Here comes the first one and the second one. Now we're going to set this up at a 2-inch circle. As you can see, we've maybe done once or twice. We're going to set the keychain hole to be about 0.15, and of course the spacer for that being a 0.08. Now we're going to set the proof grade setting for medium acrylic to do this 1/8 inch acrylic, and bring all of the circles in. Select all of them at the same time and hit the center alignment thing. That puts them all in line in the middle so we can bring it to the edge and space out the actual hole that we're going to use for the keychain. Recheck the center, delete the spacer, and group it together. Now that it's grouped together, we can actually just go ahead and copy it.
We do copy it because now we're going to get our graphic for the engraving, and this is a monogram letter from Design Bundles.
It's the letter Z.
Like Jay-Z. We're going to size this. We size this to 1.07. That's just personal preference for this particular design. We are going to center it on there, but then pull it down just a little bit to account for the fact that there is a hole at the top. Now we're going to move these to make the most efficient space on our piece of acrylic. Realized very quickly we forgot to group those two that we added the Z to. And once we get that all set, we are going to go to print.
Now, there's no need to congratulate us on the 10,000 subscribers that you see marked over there. But if you want to, go ahead.
Thank you, by 10,000. So we cut this out on the white acrylic as well as the clear acrylic because we are going to do several tests for you. Now, the sublimation prep for them all is the same, so we're still going to be working with all 4 pieces. And we're going to use
some 99% alcohol to get all those smudgy fingerprints you saw in the previous scene free from the acrylic, and get rid of all of the adhesive from the masking.
There you go. I have a bad habit of touching things once we've cleaned them, so just keep your fingers on the edge.
And we're going to cut the pieces of sublimation to larger than the acrylic that we're doing it with. Again, it will take the form of anything that is pressured onto it. So eliminate edges.
So now we're going to do our first test, which is sublimating on top of an engraving, and we're going to start with one of the white acrylic pieces. So we'll take a piece of just regular old copy paper. We're going to fold it into 4s and put that down on our heat press. We are going to take this one. As you see, it does have an engraving on it. We're going to take a sublimation print and then lay that down so the engraving is going right into that print. We're going to center it as best we can, take a piece of tape and cover that hole as we attach that print. Covering the hole prevents the sublimation ink from coming through that other side. So we're going to put its sublimation print up and slide it on in the heat press. This is the Transpro Plus 1620. And sublimate it at 380 degrees for 60 seconds. Now, it is very important that once that pops open, that you flatten it. Acrylic will be super pliable and needs to be flattened while it's cooled, otherwise it will warp.
You need to flatten it with the smoothest surface possible, because it will take the form of anything. So we weigh it down with Bobo, the good kettlebell.
Sit, Bobo.
The googly-eyed kettlebell. And once it's cooled down a little bit,
you can take a look and you can see that sublimation ink definitely kind of got a little into the engraving, but we're going to soak it in water for now just so we can do any final cleaning later. Now we're going to look at sublimating on the back of an engraved keychain, and this is with the clear. So we have the engraving on the front and we're going to sublimate on the back to see how that looks. So again, we're going to position it the way we would like. We're going to tape it and cover that hole at the same time. Put that in the heat press with the print facing up and sublimate it at
380 for 60 seconds.
And again, once it pops open, we want to put it under something flat and smooth immediately.
Now don't go smooth like glass. Glass is probably not a good idea, but find the smoothest thing you can if you are doing it this way, and, well, get yourself a good bobo.
So you can, we'll show you a close-up of all these at the end. Now we're going to look at sublimating before we do the engraving. So we're going to be using our blanks here that we had, both the clear and the white one. And you've seen the sublimation process enough at this point, so we're just going to speed right through it and get to the part where we are going to engrave them. Now, very important, before we engrave them, we are going to wipe off any of the excess paper from the sublimation. We're using just a regular household sponge, not too much pressure, but enough to get the paper off of it.
Now we're going to pull free some masking and use it to mask.
We got this masking on Amazon, and we will link this down below, in addition to our Glowforge referral code, which will give you up to $500 off your purchase, as well as give us a little something.
Now, since we are sticking these in the Glowforge, it is important to free the masking so that it is not floppy bits flying all over the place with fire risks and hazards and other, things you don't want inside your expensive, highly technical machine.
Yeah, and so we are using a self-healing cutting mat with an X-Acto. As you see, we're marking where that hole is so we know which side is up. So we're going to have the sublimation on one side facing up, on the white one, and on the clear one, that one is facing down. We're just curious if that ink will transfer and lighten to the masking. So inside the Glowforge, we're doing our best to align these. You can see they're actually not quite straight. So we are trying to use some of our circles that we used to cut the stuff out with to help with the alignment. Once we get that in there and ready to go, we'll go click the print button, and it'll take about 5 minutes.
Once the glow starts glowing, the forge starts forging.
So we are really excited to see how this one works. So we go ahead and pull them out of the Glowforge and peel off that masking. You can see there was definitely some lifting, not a whole lot, but obviously with the heat of the laser, especially with engraving, you're just going to reactivate that ink, and it did come off on the masking. Even so, especially with this white one, engraving on top of the sublimation ended up being my favorite. I think you'll see here in a little bit that you just get such a clean engrave in it, even if you do get some of that lifting onto the masking tape. But look at how clean that is. We did another test with this on top of more of a solid sublimation just to see if there was any weird glowing around the edges. And it turned out that we did not see that.
This is probably because we weren't actually cutting, so the laser beam wasn't as hot as it would have been.
Potentially. All right, so we are going to show you our favorite way to back clear acrylic if you do decide to go with one of the clear cutting and engraving methods. We're using some black diamond pigment and some UV resin.
And a little stick to stir it with, and we're going to set it up on popsicle sticks because once you pop, you can't. Oh, wrong one. But it'll make sure that if it does actually go over the edge, which you don't want it to do, you want a doming effect. But if it does go over the edge, it won't go onto the front. So we carefully distribute, and once we get it very carefully, meticulously placed,
double check it and triple check it. We are going to use the lighter to pop any bubbles.
we're gonna mask up because this stuff fumes. 60 seconds under the UV. Don't look at the light, it's bad for you.
And then it is hard as a rock.
Ah, a rock.
So that's how it looked with us sublimating on the back, engraving on the front, and backing it with resin. We definitely think that looks good, but again, our favorite is going to be actually engraving on top of the sublimation. If you want to pause it here and see all the differences, we encourage you to do that. But we'll end showing you this, which was our favorite method. We hope you learned a lot about engraving with sublimation on acrylic. Now, of course, you need a laser to do a project like this, so if you're in the market for a Glowforge, our referral code is listed down in the description. This will give you up to $500 off your Glowforge depending on which model you choose, as well as give us a little something in return.
And if you care to share your adventures in engraving on acrylic, then feel free to leave that in the comment line. If you like the video, click the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. And of course, to know that everything that we use to do this is listed down below.
Also in the description are links to all of our social handles. Please connect us across platforms. We love hearing from you. And don't forget to check out our blog at justmydiy.com. Thanks for watching.